The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners, EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hey everybody, this is the Tax Lady, and this is our hour to talk about taxes and getting ready for next year and letters, and the extension deadlines are coming up, and anything that has to do with your taxes or finances, taxes related. You can give us a call in studio, 803-0930, 803-0930. You know it wouldn't be a program without you, because what you guys have to say is so important. Star 930 on a cell phone. I have in studio with me Tiffany Fabian. Hey, Tiff.
Hey there, Esther.
And Christopher, your husband.
Hello, Esther.
I guess you're Christopher Fabian. And they're both my right-hand guys, and I will tell you, I could not do EG Tax without them. So we are here to help you. We are your front guard against Uncle Sam, and we want to help you with taxes. But this time of year, okay, it's officially September. I mean, have you ever seen a September like this in Buffalo?
No, it's gorgeous outside. I mean, when I tend to think I'm going to complain about the mugginess, but then I quickly think, okay, in a month or two, it's going to be yucky. So
12 weeks, and it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, so I just put a cap in it.
You just absolutely have to put it in perspective, because what's coming, you know it's coming. You know, all the white stuff. So you got to be really thankful that this last holiday of the summer is going to be such a great one for parties and picnics and all that kind of stuff. So we want to talk about which is coming upon us. Fall. Kids are all going. Some kids already started back to school, but with back to school, EG Tax is back to school too, right, Chris?
Yep, that's right. We're starting our tax class in the middle of October, getting everything geared up, ready to go now. We have 3 classes here in Western New York. We have West Seneca, Amherst, and Lockport.
But actually, there's more than 3
classes.
Right,
but then
he's getting
Grand
the
Island,
two.
We're going to have one also. We're going to start off with Grand Island, and also in Warsaw, we're going to do some classes this year.
And then don't forget the online option too,
yep,
which is really exciting.
You can do it.
So really, you can go to a day class or an evening class or the online class, right?
That's right. You know, what you have available, we have available. So we work with you, and after all is said and done, you successfully complete the class, and we do hire for the upcoming tax season. So
I mean, just a disclaimer: it's not easy.
Right.
I mean, it helps if you have like a brick off your load. I mean, it is not easy, but we teach you on computers. So even if you have no computer skills, that's part and parcel of what we teach people, right?
That's right. Yeah, and my God, just look at the tax code, and you can imagine
That'll
when you
make you not want
yeah
to.
when
But
you
it
say
is-
it's not easy.
But it's tax deductible if you don't work for us. It's still deductible. The actual teaching part we don't charge for. The only thing we charge for is for the book, because we have to pay the person who wrote the book, and that's about it. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to learn so much about income taxes, your head will spin.
Yep. I mean, A to Z and everything in between.
And I think one of the exciting things is that we teach on the computer too. It's not just somebody rote talking to you. You actually learn the program and learn to do it, and it just comes alive. I mean, when you just put it all together, it's eye awakening, and you learn a lot.
Right. So if anybody's interested in going back to school, maybe a part-time job, if you're a retiree and you got this long winter ahead of you, hey, we will keep you so that you won't even notice it was winter, right?
Yeah.
And so you can go to our website at egtax.com. You can call our corporate phone number at 632-7886. Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. We can register you over the phone. We can register you online. And I'm going to tell you, you'll be really glad you came to school.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Okay, speaking of school, a lot of people don't know that, daycare is a deduction. right?
That's right.
It's actually a credit.
Yep. You can, if you take your kids to school, daycare, you can deduct up to $1,200 a year. You can deduct $6,000 in cost, 20% of it. So maximum credit a year is $1,200.
If you have two or more children.
If you have two or more children, and it's a credit on the federal, and there's also a credit on the state as well.
Now, here's the thing. If you don't owe any federal taxes, and so it's a non-refundable credit, but on the state of New York, that's not true, correct?
That's right. State of
It's a
New York.
refundable credit.
It is a refundable credit. They'll give you money back. So, if you have to do it on the federal to zero it out, to show zero, because that way then you get it on the state. So,
And I
Okay,
think,
and here's I'm sorry to step on you.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you didn't have to file a federal return,
that's what I was going to say.
and you don't do the state return because you paid for daycare, you are letting the state of New York keep your money, correct?
Yep. They're not going to write you a letter and say, "Dear Mrs. Gulius, guess what? You forgot to claim your daycare, so here's an extra $350.
Right.
They don't do
now,
that.
What if you have children in a pre-K?
As long as it was used for a form of daycare, so you could look for work.
Or work.
Right.
Or if the mom or dad are in college, right?
Yep. So then that would count.
Right. And so that's what people don't understand. Even if both parents are not working, if one of them's unable to work because maybe there's a physical or mental incapacity, or if the other parent is in college full time, then even though both parents aren't working, if both parents have the qualify for this exclusion, you can still take the daycare credit, right?
Yes.
A child independent care credit.
Child independent care credit.
And if you had a spouse, for instance, who was physically unable to care for themselves, and that would qualify for the child independent care credit too, right?
Yes. Yep. Because it's for you to work, and if you can't work and take care of him, there's no income in the house, so they give you a little bit of a benefit to help.
Right. Which all works.
Yep.
And it's like $100 here, $200 here, $500 here, $1,000 there. It all adds up because each one of those forms really is tied to some type of credit or deduction. Obviously, credit is much better than deduction. Now, let's talk about medical purposes. What if you have a special needs child?
Right, and you have to send them to a private school. That's actually a medical expense, not limited to the child care credit where it's $3,000 per child. This, you take everything. Yes, it does count. You have to beat the 10% threshold if you're under 65, but it still would, these schools aren't cheap, so it would.
They're not. Yeah, they're not. I can think of the Gauss School, for instance, in East Aurora, which I think is autistic children.
I think it is. And then I was also thinking a school for the blind, too,
Right.
Yeah.
So if you pay $15,000 to send your child to this type of school and your income is $100,000, you're going to have to take $10,000 off, but you still will end up with at least a $5,000 deduction.
That's right.
Right. Yep. So and then you add in all your other medical to it, it could be a good benefit. So.
That's exactly right. So we want to talk about college, sending your kids to college, what's deductible. When you go out to look at the school, is it deductible? Is the airfare deductible? Is there room and board deductible? All that kind of stuff on the other side of the break. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady, 8030930, 8030930. We have Mike from Williamsville. We got Tony from Clarence, Larry holding. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be with you in your calls on the other side.
Come fly with me, let's fly away.
I love that. Now, is that Frank Sinatra or is that Bublé?
I think Sinatra, right?
It is Sinatra.
But it could have been Bublé.
It could have been. His voice is very
they
convincing.
almost sound identically the same. They would not look the same, but they sound the same. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. And I promised a client who's been texting me all week that I would talk about gifting of appreciated property. Now, this particular guy is going to give an appreciated piece of real estate worth $50,000. He wants to give it to the church, all right? And so the church told him that he could take it as a deduction, and he thinks it offsets his capital gains because he's got capital gains on his tax return. Chris or Tiff, would you agree with that?
No, I would not.
I would not either. Explain why.
Well, capital gains, first of all, goes on a Schedule D, which impacts your paid one of your 1040. So that's where that goes. Your charitable goes on your Schedule A. If you do itemize, then that's on page 2. So
first of all, he's got to worry about the 30%, right?
Correct.
So when you give gifts of appreciated property, it's not like cash or your checks or MasterCard, where you could take 50% of your adjusted gross income. When you're giving appreciated property, it's limited to 30%, right?
Correct.
So if his income is $20,000, then he's going to be limited to a $6,000 deduction on a $50,000 piece of property, correct?
Yes.
So that's not a happy situation. Secondly, if he can't itemize, because of this limitation, and again, if he has $20,000 in income and he's limited to the 30%, he only gets $6,000. His standard deduction may be more than what he's allowed as a charitable deduction, and he may get nothing for it.
Right. And also, if his income is only $20,000, and if he had held the asset, we're saying capital gains, which means more than a year, then his tax rate on that would be 0 anyways.
Mm-hmm. And so, right. So at the end of the year, so this is what I was explaining to him. Whenever you give when you give anything to charity, you're going to only be able to take whatever tax bracket you're in times the value of the contribution, and that's all you're going to get as a deduction. So if if he really had that much income, if that $50,000 asset, if he's in 10% bracket, he's only going to save $5,000 in taxes. Now, if you really want to give it, that's great, but you're basically selling a $50,000 asset for $5,000 because that's all you're getting.
Right. That's right.
So you really have to put a pencil to everything because it just doesn't work out as neatly as he thinks it's going to work out. So, and again, if he's in the 15% bracket or less, he may pay nothing because he's going to pay 0% in capital gains.
Yeah.
Yep.
The only place he's going to save it is maybe on New York.
So I'm glad that he made the phone call and checked with you.
He did. He says, are you confident enough to talk about it on the radio show? I said, I'm confident enough to talk about it on the radio show. So gifting of appreciated property, or even something and again, if he's giving a $50,000 piece of property, what else does he have to do? He's got to get an appraisal.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can't just
say it's worth
I think it's
$50,000.
worth $50,000. Well, that doesn't cut the mustard, right?
Nope. And, it's especially if the church is using it for themselves, they have to get the appraisal done, too, to prove also to put on the 1098C.
I'm not going to help you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Leave me hanging.
Oh. Right. Anyway, I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. And we have Mike who's been holding. Hi, Mike. This is Esther. How can I help you? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, first of all, why doesn't she get health insurance? Okay, how much, Mike, do you think, how much do you think your daughter's going to make this year? Off the top. No, but I mean, if you were to guesstimate what you think her income's going to be this year, what do you think it's going to be? Okay, so Chris, give him
Oh,
the good news.
well, the good news
Well, there's
is,
two things.
Well, the first thing I would like to say is you have to have it for at least 9 months, and it sounds like she's going to have it for at least 9 months of 2000.
Because of her dad, right?
Right. So there's not going to be a penalty because she had it for at least 9 months, and then
So
Chris.
there's an exclusion to penalty.
Isn't that-
of which would be that she was under her parents?
right?
Correct?
Isn't that great,
Correct.
Mike?
And
So that's number one. But number two,
Chris-
she might not even have to go without insurance, right?
Right. I mean, if her income is 16,000, she's just. And I know. Right. Everybody's afraid of the word Medicaid. Because they're thinking old style. She may, if her income's a little bit under, she may qualify for Medicaid and get insurance for free. If she's a little bit over the threshold, she's going to get the subsidy to help pay for the health insurance. So she may be
a lot of subsidies.
Yep, she may be able to get a silver plan at a cost reduction rate where she's paying next to nothing. Her best bet and your next best bet is on Tuesday to call our office and talk to Tim, who's our healthcare specialist, and he can run the numbers and tell you exactly what she would pay come October 1st. And she can still sign up because she had a life event. She turned 26, so she can get insurance come October 1st. But she would have to sign up by September 15th.
No,
But there's
you gotta
nothing wrong
understand,
with it.
Actually, Medicaid all changed. Medicaid is not the stigma it used to be. Medicaid actually is like the best insurance you can get. Nothing.
No,
Oh, you
no,
mean
in
all the next year.
2016.
Then it's
20.
2.5% of her adjusted gross income next year. But I have to tell you, Mike, it would be ridiculous of her not to get the free insurance. Ridiculous. No, it doesn't. No, it's not. Not anymore. They've completely changed it. Medicaid is not the stigma it used to be. The one of the only insurances without any caps is Medicaid. I mean, I wish I have to tell you, I wish I could go on Medicaid. How's that? That's the God's truth. I mean, and we don't make any money off this except to tell you
And-
the truth.
yeah, and the
If
truth
I could
is-
go on Medicaid, I'd go on Medicaid.
And the truth is, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go on to that website, the New York State Exchange, you don't necessarily have to get Medicaid. Tim can help you look at the different options,
true.
and there's Fidelis and there's First Choice.
Right.
And so it doesn't have to be Medicaid.
But we have our own health navigator, and this gentleman works for us. We pay his salary. We get nothing to help you, except that we're helping people
He's
to make
great.
sure they don't shoot themselves in the foot. And if your daughter doesn't get insurance, she'd be somebody shooting herself in the foot. So we want to help you. There's no charge. There's no obligation. We just want to help.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay?
I believe he is gone.
He left. He's gone.
I mean, that's why I tried to pre-note everything, saying Medicaid. It's not the same old Medicaid
it
anymore.
really is not.
It's
It
totally
really is
different.
not.
And you send your kids to school to be smart. Well, her not being smart would be not going on Medicaid if she qualifies. So you're just, they're giving you health insurance for free for a year. That's
Well,
so.
I mean, let's face it. It's really not for free. I mean, just
Well,
for free to her,
right.
But the rest of society
Society,
is
it's
picking it up.
correct.
And maybe morally, that's his problem. He's morally objected to Medicaid, and I understand that. But by the same token, you'd be here. It is for free. As somebody else is going to avail themselves of it.
Yep.
So I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on the cell phone. And we got Larry in Georgia. We haven't heard from him in a long time. Larry, have you just been like rafting down to Chattahoochee?
he ran away and got married.
You got married, Larry? Ah, that's us. So you've been rafting down to Chattahoochee, haven't you? You've been rafting down the Chattahoochee. I do. I've been down to Atlanta. I love Georgia.
Okay. Okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah, let's classify that.
That's a good idea, because that's a smart thing to do it now, because we're in the last quarter. So,
That's
yep,
right.
we will be ready and at your avail. You are welcome.
No,
Well-
because if it's in a revocable trust, it means it's just going to go on your tax return per normal, just like normal. If it was an irrevocable trust, you'd have to do a 1041. But when it's a revocable trust, that means that Larry can get mad on Tuesday and change everything back. It just goes on your tax return per normal.
They are so good. One of them is at Darien Lake, which is an amusement park around here, and she's having fun in the sun. And the other one is going to come with us to Grandma's later today. So they are an extension of my arm and my leg. They're like your heartbeats. So they're doing good.
And
Yeah.
I want to tell you, Larry, I mean, when it's 86 degrees in Buffalo,
You
in
take
September,
advantage.
you are really happy. So, all right. So y'all have a good day. Thanks for calling, Larry.
Bye. Yeah, and Esther, when Larry talks to us and we do the three-way, I know sometimes you advise people a revocable trust is not always the way to go, and so that would be something to talk to them about.
Well, I mean, sometimes you're doing a revocable trust and you really think you're tying up your assets, but you really aren't.
Right.
So you have to be really careful about the money you're spending to make sure that it's accomplishing what you want it to do.
Yep,
Right?
that's right.
So it's an irrevocable trust that really gives the assets away. And then, of course, if you're doing that and to look at the possibility of nursing home care, especially in New York State, which is so expensive, then you got a 5-year look back. So that's part of. And do we charge anybody to help them to get all set up here?
Not at all. There's no charge. People are blown away when they come in, and we spend time with them and get them all straightened out. And they go, take out their checkbook. How much do I write this for? We say nothing, and they're like, what?
Yep,
The
true.
jaw hits the floor. We
Yep,
do not
because
charge.
We have to be there all summer anyway, so it's just wonderful to help people plan. All right, so we are getting ready to do news. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady. 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. We're going to talk about college. We're talking about your questions. We'll see you on the other side. I know that song. All right, you guys.
That's Aerosmith.
Ding ding.
All right. Yeah, Christopher. So we're batting 2 for 2 here.
Yeah, let's go home now. Let's go
Yeah,
home
don't
now.
let me get to that third song.
Like the sweep of the stairway will be the next one. Some unusual guess. Anyway, a band. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady. 803-0930, 803-0930. We're talking about getting it's fall. So right now we got parents looking at college, and so there are basically there's American Opportunity Tax Credit, Lifetime Learning Credit, tuition and fees deduction, which may or may not be, and job-related expenses deduction for education. So let's go to the AOTC.
Sure.
The AOTC is American Opportunity Tax Credit, and this is generally used by whom?
Somebody who's brand new, going to college, getting their first degree, so it's used for the first 4 years, and it's a great credit. The amount of the credit is 100% of the first $2,000 of qualified expenses, and then 25% of the next $2,000. So in essence, the first $1,500 would be a non-refundable, and the next $1,000 of credit would be a refundable credit. So it's for somebody seeking their first 4-year degree, and it's a great credit.
Okay, then New York State piggybacks on that, right?
Yes, they do. They have it's a $200 credit, can go up to $400, or you can use as an itemized deduction on New York State, which could be a greater benefit than $400. So depending on how much the tuition is that is actually paid and not counting scholarships, TAP or Pell, whether it's student loans put on credit cards, cash, student pays or parents pay, it goes with the dependent. So mom and dad, don't let your college kid claim themselves, because you'll just be shooting yourself in the foot.
And I'm going to tell you, if your kid has claimed themselves in the last couple of years and then the first 4 years of continuing education, unless they made $20,000, all right, if they made $25,000, that's different. But if they were making $4,000, I'm going to tell you, you should come in to see us, because we'll amend the return, get you thousands, lots of money back, and it's just unbelievable. So to be ignorant of the law, you may do a tax return. Nobody's sending you a bill, but that doesn't mean it's the best tax return. It just means you did something.
Yeah,
right?
and then New York State also has the option of not taking the credit, but taking that college cost and making it an itemized deduction on the state. So that might yield the better answer and something to consider.
So let's talk about what goes into the AOTC. It isn't room and board, right?
Nope.
Right, not
What goes
travel.
into it?
It's the cost, the tuition cost, any books, supplies. So if you needed a laptop, it would be a qualifying item. So books, no fees, and no travel, no room and board, but qualified tuition cost.
It's fees, but not fees for like taking sporting events, right?
Right. Certain fees do count. Some, the bus transportation fee, like at UB, that wouldn't count.
Doesn't count.
Right. So you got to look
your
up.
Tuition, your books fees, certain books, equipment that they require, and that all goes into the AOTC on the first $4,000 to get the maximum credit.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, and then we have Mary Ann, who I think is calling about books.
We just lost. We must have just answered her question.
She must have said, "Oh my gosh, they answered my question."
But while you're chiming in on that, there was a caller during the break who asked Tyler a question and then hung up, and so I don't know if Chris wants.
He didn't want to come on the air, But his question, because we were talking about Medicaid earlier, and he goes, "But wait a minute, Medicaid always looked at other stuff before, looked at how much you had in the bank or what your house was worth. That was the old Medicaid.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
He couldn't believe that, and he needed a clarification on that.
You could have a $1 million house. I think we called and asked about this.
We did. We did.
$1 million house, $150,000 in the bank, but no income.
Yep.
You qualify for Medicaid.
Yep. It's the changes in it is unbelievable what they are making available to people.
What was is not what is, and so what is different than what was, and so ignorance of the law is not a good thing. You want to make sure that you know what you're talking about, because you can be shooting yourself in the foot, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, if you have questions about this, give us a call during the week. Give us a call now. We'll take your call on the air. We don't mind. We want to help people. That's what we're here for.
Okay, so after the AOTC, for the first 4 years of continuing education, when you're at least a full-time student, correct?
Correct.
Or do you have to be a part-time student? Who qualifies for the AOTC?
Greater than full-time. Greater than part-time is the answer. Greater than part-time.
Right. So you can be a part-time student, right? More than part-time student.
Greater than
not
part-time.
necessarily a full-time student. And then, of course, if you're a part-time student, then that's where the income limitations come in, whether your parents can claim you. So that's another thing. But let's say that you're only taking a class or two, or you're in graduate school. What happens to those people?
Then you have the opportunity of taking the lifetime credit, which would be you don't have the same qualifiers as the AOTC, but the credit isn't as great. It's just a non-refundable credit, and it's 20%. Up 20%, right?
Of the tuition.
The AOTC though is per student. So if you have 3 kids in school and they all go to Canisius, you're looking at $7,500 credit potential on your tax return.
And when you drive down the street, you'll say, "I wonder who lives in that cardboard box." And you said, "The dad who was
Yes. But now if they all went to graduate school, dad's still claiming them. Dad, instead of $7,500 credit, is only able to get a $2,000 credit.
Right, and
So-
it's a non-refundable credit.
Yep.
So that's tuition and fees. All right, now another thing that people don't realize is
No, that was lifetime learning.
lifetime learning. Yeah. Another thing that people don't realize is sometimes, especially like when you're a doctor or a physician's assistant or a nurse practitioner, you have to go away for conferences. So because you aren't, you don't qualify for the American Opportunity Tax Credit, and probably your income's too high for the lifetime learning credit, what you're going to do is take what's called education expenses on the 2106.
That's right, which is a credit that's tucked away under itemized deduction. So that's something with your property taxes and your mortgage interest and your gift to charities. That's a tuition and fees, which is found on the Schedule A. So it's a great opportunity. It has to super exceed 2% of your adjusted gross income. That's the expenses, and that's exactly where it would go.
Right. So let's say that a doctor goes to a medical conference and he pays $4,000 for the tuition to get in, the books, the airfare, and the hotel. Then, because it's a doctor who is probably in the 38% bracket and he's self-employed, he pays 15.3% in FICA, pays New York State 9%. He would get a 62% deduction of the $4,000, and it would actually save him $2,480.
Wow.
So you got to be really careful where you take the expenses.
Yep. Sometimes when I'm doing somebody's tax return, I'll actually play with the numbers and legally find out which yields them the best answer, putting it as an adjustment or
And
a
that's
20.
what you got to do, right? That's what you got to do. Okay, we back to the phones, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on the cell phone, and we have Tony on the phone. Hey, Tony, how you doing? Don't fall asleep, Tony. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Planning. Uh-huh. 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 Yeah. Sure. Okay. All right. Well, first of all, anybody can choose to have deferred interest. Okay? Depending upon the vehicle that you use. Okay? So, if you buy a US savings bond, that has deferred interest. So, in other words, you don't have to pay taxes until you cash in your bond, and then at that point in time, the interest that has been accumulating, which was deferred, all becomes taxable when you cash in your bond. Okay? Well, I don't know. My dad paid off his house. I mean, I come from a very humble background. My dad worked at Ford Motor, and I can remember my mom and dad who used the U.S. savings bonds to they would squirrel it away, and then one day I think my dad had $20,000 in U.S. savings bonds, and I remember he and my mom sitting at the kitchen table, and he said, "Mitz, we can pay off the house," and that's what they used it for. So. I don't know who avails themselves of the deferred interest. Obviously, if you're in the 38% bracket, you don't really want, and you earned $1,000 in interest, you save $380 by not having to claim it every year. But at some point in time, you got to pay the piper.
Right.
And when you pay the piper, it might be at a higher tax bracket.
Yeah, and
Okay. Yes. Either the in the year of death of the person who had the deferred interest can make the election to pay the taxes on their final return, or it goes over to the heirs and the heirs pay the taxes. Believe me, Tony, nobody's getting away with anything.
I think you've always said defer, die sometimes,
I'm,
right,
I'm,
Esther?
I'm into the dying part. I mean, the deferring part if I possibly can. Now, other things really have capital assets when you die get a stepped-up basis, but not interest. If you had deferred interest, you pay taxes, or your estate or your heirs pay the taxes. Okay? Thank you, Tony. Have a great day. Stay cool. Thank you.
Thanks,
sir.
Tony.
Thank you.
You know, and another deferred interest people don't realize are CDs. You're deferring the interest to your CD. You could buy a 5-year CD, and that CD...
Oh, no, you have to pay the taxes each year. You pay the interest as you earn it on a CD. Only certain bonds at the end are, and really it's U.S. savings bonds, have deferred interest, or annuities. Like, for instance, if you have an annuity and you put $100,000 in and you don't you wait for maturity, at that point in time all the interest accrues, right?
Right.
But on a regular old CD, you pay it annually.
Yeah, but we have to take a break.
We do have to take a break. I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. We want to help you. Give us a jingle. We'll see you on the other side.
Well, she was just 17.
Wow, Tyler's really trying to help us get that 1,000. Am I right, Tyler? Is that the Beatles?
Correct. For the first time, I think, in the history of this show, you are 100% correct.
Does that mean we win tickets to Paul McCartney?
No, but I'm going.
Are you?
I am.
Wow, that's so cool. Isn't that remarkable that it sold out in 3 minutes?
I'm going to see the Beatles, well, Paul McCartney and the Rolling Stones in 1 year, and I'm
Wow.
26 years old.
Boy, I have to tell you, I know we're talking taxes, but when I was like 17, the Beatles came to Detroit, because I'm from Detroit, and my girlfriends wanted to go, and I didn't want to go, and I was being pouty, and I went to a back stairway, and I was sitting, because everybody was like frolicking and frothing about the Beatles coming out, and out in the back stairway, they all came, the 4 of them.
Come on.
And they said, "Hey, mate, what you doing here?" And I thought, "Oh my God, it's the Beatles." And I said, I should have said it because I'm pouting. I don't want to see you. And they said, "Oh, go have a good time at the show." So I go up. Now I was like a maniac then. So I went back to the seat where my girlfriends were, and I was the loudest, whatever groupie that they could have had then. So I actually saw the 4 Beatles when I was 17.
Wow. Hey, and you know what? You have that luck, because didn't you run into like Barbara Bush?
Oh, Barbara Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
At
saw Barbara
Texas
Bush.
A&M?
I
Yeah.
did. Yeah. And I saw
The Queen?
who?
Didn't
The
you,
Queen?
like,
Yes,
when you
I
went
did.
to
I saw
England?
the Queen. I wasn't supposed to, because my girlfriend, we were in England. My girlfriend wanted to go to the Trooping of the Colors, and I didn't want to go because
Were you pouting again?
I'm really not much of a groupie. And my husband and I got off this subway, and we got up, and we were in the middle of the Trooping of the Colors. So that night, my girlfriend says, we didn't get to see the Queen. And we said, we did. We saw, hey, boy, blimey, we saw the Queen. Yes. All right. All right. Then we got to talk
Yep.
taxes.
Tyler has
All
a
right,
question.
next
Hold
week-
on. Tyler has a question for us.
Yes, Tyler.
Somebody called in. She dropped off the line, but she had a question. She was wondering, because she's currently unemployed, and she's been living off her savings, and she owns a home, so she didn't think she could collect Medicaid.
Yes.
So could you
yes.
clarify
yes,
that for her?
she qualifies. Yes.
Alyssa,
I'm
are you
so
listening?
glad that you called and you listened to the show. Yes, call us. We will help you. There's no charge. We do this at no charge because we don't want to be the messenger that says, "Oh, by the way, you owe $2,000 in penalty." We want to help you. So we are so fortunate we have Tim Eliason, who is our navigator, and he can get you all set up. And yes, even though you have assets, as long as you have no income is the important part, you can get Medicaid. I want to talk about next week, if you're somebody who has kids in college and you're saying, I just don't know how to manage this. We have a special guest next week, right, guys?
We do. Rob Eimer from our East Aurora office, but he also, besides doing taxes, is a college tuition negotiator. He's
right,
the
and so he helps you to pay less in college tuition.
That's right. Yep. Mike and Glenn earlier today, they had on the ins and outs of student loans and college costs, and so this will be a good springboard to that next week. He does a great job. So,
if you can't afford it, and don't think that, what you want to do is listen to Rob Eimer, because his whole thing is to negotiate. He was telling us the other day about how they negotiate the tuition for school. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. You would think that you can't, but you can. And so next Saturday, you want to make sure you're here on Ask the Tax Lady, because we want to do that. Now, the other thing is, let's say that somebody's got a scholarship for their education, first 4 years of school, and so you say to yourself, well, then you don't qualify for the AOTC. What can they do to qualify for the AOTC?
Well, they could elect, if their son or daughter is out of town, they could try to have the school use it for room and board.
So, or even if they're in town.
Or even if they're in town, if they're like my daughter, who's dormed at UB for a while.
She really didn't want to be with you guys, which is really
a slap in the face.
Very common.
But they could try to have the school elect to use that scholarship for room and board, thus making the scholarship taxable
to the student.
And giving the parents then the AOTC, so where the child may end up paying $500 on the taxable scholarship, the parents are saving $2,500.
Well, actually, with the state of New York, like $2,900, right? So the parents on the left-hand side save $2,900. The kids got to pay $500 in taxes. That's a $2,400 win for the family.
That's right.
So this is all, where you have to make that call and you say to the school, hey, we got this scholarship for Lucy. Can we put this on her room and board, or does it have to go for tuition? If it has to go for tuition, then that's a horse of a different color. But if they say, we don't care, put it wherever you want.
Yep, very smart, just asking the question.
Before, when you get that, I know, the 1098-T that comes in the mail, really,
yes.
It's a wonderful thing that colleges do, but it's a terrible thing that colleges do.
It is, because they don't know what they're doing.
That's right. They mark the little box that says, this includes the tuition for the spring semester of the following year. But that tuition wasn't actually paid. So you really can't use that figure. So your best bet is to get a transcript of your itemized billing statement from the school and calculate out, because you don't want all of a sudden...
Yeah, I've talked to the IRS about this, and they echo your sentiments. When I have to fax them over something, they said, give me an itemized bill. That 1098-T, it's not so good.
Right. Okay, we have Pravin, who's been holding on line one. Is it our Pravin? Hey, Pravin, I love you. How are you, Pravin?
Is it? Yeah.
No, but the bottom line is it's still Medicaid, and a lot of people think that it's the low-income Medicaid. Well, it is low-income Medicaid. But Medicaid does not have the stigma that it used to have, Pravin.
Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of differences in it. The same doctors that take the income that for the Medicaid that you're referring to versus this other Medicaid is similar, and the what they cover is similar. Do you see many differences between it, Chris?
No, and then the other thing is the doctors actually get paid more by taking Medicaid.
Right. Yep.
So I think once the doctors see here that they're going to do better with Medicaid, I think this whole thing is like a learning curve.
Yeah, it's
I
just-
think that the doctors aren't aware that they're going to do better by taking Medicaid
it's just
than
harder.
some of the traditional insurances.
It's harder to get approved to take Medicaid. They have to jump through a
The
lot
Me-
more hoops.
I mean, the Medicaid where you get other benefits besides insurance could be the whole sticking point. This is just the Medicaid for the insurance.
But I'll tell you, if you're somebody out there and you have assets and you didn't think you qualify, but you have no income or very low income, well, actually income under $14,000 a year, right? That's $15,000 a year.
Correct.
You qualify for Medicaid. And if you don't get the insurance, look in the mirror and say, oh, I think I'm not so smart. I mean, really, you need to go do this because it's available to you. Personally, I don't agree with it, but it's there, and if it were available to me, I would do it. So don't be so principled that you don't take something for free, you know.
Yeah. And I have to chime in and say when Esther said it's our Provin is the one that manages our Transit Road Williamsville
Right.
office. So
Provin is our office supervisor at our Williamsville office. And so, Provin, are you having fun? You going to any jazz festivals?
He's
gone.
he just dropped off.
Okay. Well, I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady, with Christopher Fabian, Tiffany Fabian, and some last-minute thoughts. They keep talking about interest rates going up. If interest rates go up and you have a home mortgage that's over 5% and you didn't refinance, that's not smart. Do it now because interest rates are going to go up. I don't know when, but do it now if you need any help with that. EG Tax is your kind of mentor to help you there. You might qualify for a VA loan if you're somebody that is retired military. FHA loans are available if your credit's like a little not so hot, you know. And for those of you that are seniors and you're having a tough time living in your house and you have equity in your house, you might want to take a look at a reverse mortgage. And a reverse mortgage is a way to get completely tax-free income out of your house, and you can live in your house forever and ever and ever until you aren't here anymore.
Yep.
So all of those things are available to you. EG Tax wants to help you. If you have any questions, if we've kind of like tweaked the little thing in your memory bank and you say, gee, I think I'd like to call about that, we are somebody that's on your side, and that's what we want to do. We want to help you. So until next week, I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady from EG Tax with Christopher Fabian, Tiffany Fabian. If you need anything during the week, stop in at our corporate headquarters on Niagara Falls Boulevard. We're there to help you. If you got letters, even if we didn't do your return, we'll help you. If you haven't gotten your return, we'll help you. If you spent 16 hours on the phone with the IRS and they hang up on you, we'll help you. That's what we do. And so until next Saturday, I'm Esther Gullius, the tax lady. Have a great week. Stay cool. Bye-bye.